this is to me and to Vice President Biden. We both have a lot of memories of Scranton and Lake Winola, that's right. And it is such a nostalgic trip for me because my brothers are here. We came to Lake Winola every summer of my life and loved every minute of it. And there are a lot of people in this crowd who our family has known or Joe's family has known over the years, and we are grateful to each and every one of you. It's also wonderful to be here in Scranton with Senator Bob Casey. And your Congressman, Matt Cartwright. And your amazing Lackawanna County Recorder of Deeds, Evie Rafelko McNulty. And we sure miss that husband of yours. We're thinking about you and sending you our best wishes. We're also here with Auditor General Eugene Del Pasquale, too. And of course, as I said, I'm here with the one, the only, Vice President Joe Biden. You know, Joe grew up over on North Washington Avenue. No matter how far he travels, he never forgets where he's from. I have seen him in a lot of settings, in the spotlight as vice president and senator, in quiet moments with constituents, and in the Situation Room, helping to make decisions that affect our lives and security. And wherever he goes, he's always the same guy, a fighter for everyone who needs a champion, for towns like Scranton, and above all, a fighter for families. And you know, I think he'd be the first to say that he cares about your families because of his family. Joe Sr. and Catherine taught Joe that all people deserve to be treated with dignity. When you see someone fall, you help them back up because we are all in this together. That is the Biden way. We have seen how he fights for working families because he passionately believes in the basic bargain that makes America great, that our economy should work for everyone, not just those at the top. And he stands up against injustice. He has led the fight to end violence against women and girls. And he stands up for people's lives and health, including the project he's now leading on behalf of President Obama, the Cancer Moonshot, to fund breakthroughs and save lives. As many of you know, his wonderful son, Beau, a great father, a great public servant, a great human being, passed away last year. So this is personal to Joe Biden. He knows it's personal to a lot of families. That's why he's fighting so hard to make a difference. And if I'm elected this fall, I'm going to ask Joe to continue the important work he's begun to help us fight and defeat cancer. So as someone who's worked with Joe for years, first in the Senate, then as a member of the Obama-Biden cabinet, I can attest that passion for standing up for people, trying to make lives better. It's what pushes him to work as hard as he can every second of every day for all of us. And Joe and his wonderful wife, Jill, have raised their children and grandchildren with those same values. So, Joe, I hope you know how much, not just Scranton, but America loves you and your family. So it means a great deal to have him by my side. You know, when Joe and I were deciding where to have our first campaign rally, there really was only one answer. Scranton isn't just Joe's hometown, it's my dad's hometown too. While the Bidens were on North Washington Avenue, my family, the Rodhams, were a few blocks away on Diamond Avenue. I was christened at the Methodist Church on Court Street. My grandfather went to work at the Scranton Lace Mill starting as a teenager. It wasn't easy work, but you know what I learned? That business treated its workers right, believe it or not. The Scranton Lace Company, all those years ago, actually offered a profit-sharing plan and health benefits at the beginning of the 20th century. They understood something that a lot of folks have forgotten. They understood that their workers were responsible for much of the business's success, so it was only fair that they shared in that success and that their families benefited too. And because of that job, my grandfather could give my father a better life. My father was able to go to college, went to Penn State where he played football. Then, after he got out of Penn State, it was 1935, right in the depths of the Depression, and he was looking for a job. He heard a friend of his knew somebody who heard that somebody was hiring in Chicago, so he literally hopped a freight train from Scranton to Chicago. I don't recommend that anymore. Where he got a job as a salesman. He went into the Navy during World War II, and when he got out, he started a small business in Chicago, where I grew up. And just like his father before him, my dad was determined to give us even greater opportunities than he had. And to me, that is the American dream. No matter where life takes me, I always remember I am the granddaughter of a factory worker and the daughter of a small business owner, and I am so proud of it. And you know, the story of the Rodhams and the Bidens isn't unique. What's unique is the country where those stories were written. No matter what Donald Trump says, America is great, and the American dream is big enough for everyone to share in its promise. But that doesn't mean we can take it for granted and just wait till it happens to us. We have a lot of work to do. Here in Scranton, you know that. President Obama and Vice President Biden pulled us back from the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression and put our economy back on a stronger footing. I personally don't think they get enough credit for that. Under their leadership, we've created 15 million new private sector jobs. 20 million people now have health care, and the auto industry just had its best year ever. So I think the job of the next president is to build on that, but to take on the deeper challenges that emerged long before the crisis and have persisted through our recovery. Inequality is too high. Wages are too low. It is still too hard for too many to get ahead. So my top priority is creating an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top, which is why I've set 5 ambitious goals to get us there. First, we're going to make the biggest investment in new, good-paying jobs since World War II. Second, we're going to make college debt-free for all and help millions of people struggling with existing student debt. Third, we're going to crack down on companies that ship jobs and profits overseas. And we're going to reward companies that share profits with their employees like the Scranton Lace Company did almost a century ago. Fourth, thank you. Fourth, we're going to make sure that Wall Street corporations and the super rich finally pay their fair share of taxes. And fifth, we're going to respond to the way American families actually live and work today by making child care affordable, because in today's economy, there is often no parent or grandparent staying home with the kids. And we're going to fight for paid family leave, because sometimes you need to take care of your child or your spouse or sick parent, and you should not lose your job for taking care of the loved one. Now, you know, whenever I mention these issues, you know Donald Trump always said that I'm playing the woman's card. Well, you know what I say? If playing the woman's card is deal me in. I really believe that together this plan will go a long way toward building a stronger, fairer economy where everyone can contribute to its growth, everyone can share in its rewards. Now, by contrast, what's Trump's plan? Well, he laid it out last week. And I'll admit, even before he did, I didn't think it was going to be good for working Americans. But it turned out to be worse than I ever imagined. I know some of you may have friends up here in northeastern Pennsylvania who are thinking about voting for Trump. You know, I know. Friends should not let friends vote for Trump. Just in case you can have a conversation, explain that Donald Trump would give trillions, that's trillions with a T, in tax cuts to big corporations, millionaires, and Wall Street money managers. That would explode the national debt. And it would lead to massive cuts in things like education and health care. He's even called for a new tax loophole. Let's call it the Trump loophole, because it would allow Trump to pay less than half the current tax rate on income from many of his companies, a pretty sweet deal. He would end up paying a rate lower than millions of middle-class families. Now, that is assuming he pays any taxes at all, because we really don't know since we haven't seen his tax returns. But we do know, just by looking at the data, we know that the 400 richest taxpayers in America would get an average tax cut of more than $15 million a year from the Trump loophole. And then, of course, there's the estate tax that Trump wants to eliminate altogether. Now, if you believe that he's as wealthy as he claims, that would save the Trump family $4 billion. But it would do nothing for 99.8% of all the other Americans in our country. So, yeah, $4 billion tax cut for Trump, 99.8% of Americans get nothing. Think of what we could do with those $4 billion. We could pay for more than 47,000 veterans to get a 4-year college degree. We could provide a year's worth of health care to nearly 3 million kids, Or we could fund a year's worth of federal assistance to state and local law enforcement. So there are a lot of better ways to spend the money. And there's one more part of Trump's plan I want to mention. He's now saying he wants to help people pay for child care by excluding those payments from taxation. Well, again, guess who that will help the most? It will help rich people who will get 30 or 40 cents on the dollar to pay for their nannies. Hardworking families who can't afford child care in the first place will get little to no real help. That's why his child care plan has been panned by experts across the political spectrum, left, right, and center. Because remember, right now, child care costs as much as in-state college tuition in most of the country. So we need real solutions that will work for working people, not just the well-off. And to prove that he really cares about this issue, Trump made a point of talking about how his businesses offer on-site child care to workers. Well, that kind of perked me up. Because if he really did that, it would be a big deal. I wish more companies would provide on-site child care. That would be a huge benefit for employees, but like so much of what he says, it's not true. It turns out some of his resorts, hotels, and clubs offer child care services, but for guests, not employees. Just saying. If you stay at a Trump hotel, you can enroll your kid in something called Trump Kids. They will get special children's room service, children's spa services, even a nanny for a fee. But if you work for his business, if you clean the rooms, water the lawns, carry people's bags, you get nothing. I'm not even sure Trump knows that providing a Trump Kids program for paying customers is not the same thing as providing real child care for your workers. Just like his tax breaks for billionaires aren't the same as a real plan to help America's working families. You know, Vice President Biden has a saying I love: don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. So it's pretty clear Donald Trump wants to give trillions of tax breaks to people like himself, not invest in our veterans, our kids, our police officers, our teachers, and anyone who really provides services. And we face real serious challenges in America. We need serious leadership. This is not a reality TV show. It's as real as it gets. Look at what's happening in Milwaukee right now. We've got urgent work to do to rebuild trust between police and communities and get back to the fundamental principle: everyone should have respect for the law and be respected by the law. So on all these important challenges, you have to ask yourself, is Trump up to the job? He's giving a speech. He's giving a speech about ISIS today. Now, I've laid out my strategy for defeating ISIS over many months. We will strike their sanctuaries from the air and support local forces taking them out on the ground. Under President Obama and Vice President Biden, we are making progress. We will surge our intelligence so we detect and prevent attacks before they happen. We will disrupt their efforts online to reach and radicalize young people in our country. It won't be easy or quick, but make no mistake, we will prevail. There is no doubt in my mind. And once again, in comparison, Donald's been all over the place on ISIS. He talked about letting Syria become a free zone for ISIS, a major country in the Middle East that could launch attacks against us and others. He's talked about sending ground troops, American ground troops. Well, that is off the table as far as I am concerned. we'll wait and see what he says today. But, you know, sometimes he says he won't tell anyone what he'll do because he wants to keep his plan, quote, secret. And then it turns out the secret is he has no plan. And that was very clear when he said, I know more about ISIS than the generals. No, Donald, you don't. And on top of that, he says more countries should have nuclear weapons, including in the Middle East. He talks about walking away from our European allies. He has the temerity to say that the United States military is a disaster. Well, I wish he'd spent as much time as Joe and I have meeting the brave young men and women who serve in the military, meeting their families, meeting with Gold Star families. Those are not the words of someone who respects our military and the sacrifice that our young men and women make every single day. Look, I said in Philadelphia that a man you can bait with a tweet is not a man you can trust with nuclear weapons. It's also not a man you can trust to run our economy, help heal our cities, or be a role model for our children. There is no doubt Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief. So, my friends, America deserves a president who can get the job done, bring our country together, not tear it apart, deliver real results for hardworking Americans. And we can't win this election without you. That's why I'm asking you to join right now. Take out your phone and text JOIN, J-O-I-N, to 47246, or go to HillaryClinton.com. We are hiring organizers right here in Pennsylvania and across the country. We are going to run a vigorous campaign across Pennsylvania. We're going to keep building the future that you and your families deserve. And I am so sure we can do this, especially with this man fighting alongside us, just like he always has. So, Scranton, please, let's give it up for the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello, folks. It's good to be home. Folks, let me tell you what Scranton does deserve. Well, thank you. Scranton deserves what it's always deserved because it is made up of so many people with grit and courage. I mean this sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. With grit, courage, determination, who never, ever give up. They deserve someone who not only understands them, they deserve someone who's with them, and they deserve someone who's made of the same stuff. That's Hillary Clinton. That's who she is. It's good to be home with so many friends as I look around. Matter of fact, one of the people on the reception line said, my aunt owns your house. Tell her I'm coming. I'm coming home. I was there when I was running, and up in the bedroom, written on the wall still is, Joe Biden slept here. And then it said, lived here. I'm glad they added the lived here part. You know, I'm often asked why we moved from Greenridge to Claymont, Delaware, and then Wilmington. Claymont's a suburb of Wilmington, Delaware. And it's because of Bob Casey. Now, look, The Caseys lived 5 blocks from us, just around the corner from St. Clair's. And I am midway between Bobby's dad and Bobby. And I knew only one of us were going to make it out of Green Ridge, and knew it wasn't going to be me. So I had to move. There was too much Casey talent in the neighborhood. Bobby, you're a great friend and a great, great United States Senator. Thank you. As they say in Southern Delaware, they talk at you like this. Matt Cartwright, that boy, he married up. He married right up to the Munleys. I tell you, I don't know, always seeking influence, but you got it, man. Matt, you're doing a wonderful job as well and become a very dear friend of mine. Thank you. I've been home since this time, but I stood here 8 years ago kicking off our campaign with Hillary and Bill Clinton at my side, having my back. It was just me up here who came to show their support. And I want to make it clear that as Scranton has always had my back, we, in fact, all of us, are going to have your back, Hillary. Scranton has been so... Some of the folks in our administration were there on election night when the results were coming in. I give you my word as a Biden, I asked one and only one question. What did we do in the Northeast? And we won by a larger margin than we had any time before, and the rest didn't matter. I took full credit for it. Nothing to do with it. You know, if you listen to Barack, you'd think I was a kid who just climbed out of a coal mine with a lunchbox from Scranton. I'm the kid from Scranton. Well, I am from Scranton, and I was a kid at one time. But it's so often, quite frankly, my people in Delaware resent it. I've represented them for 36 years as a U.S. Senator and 44 years in high public office, and I swear to God, Hillary, there's a parade that started on the 4th of July about just as I was getting started in '72, and it was called the Hockessin Parade. It's right on the Pennsylvania border, and from the time my boys were then 3 and 4 years old, 4 and 5 years old at the time, actually 3 and 4 years old, they were in the parade with me. And so when my beau became, and he was the most popular politician in Delaware, I would tag along with him. No, for real, in the parade. So one of the things I'm trying to do, Hillary, after the people of Delaware being so generous to me all these years, and to Beau as Attorney General, I'm trying to go back and do as many things in the last year at home in Delaware to show my affection and my appreciation. And so I was in the 4th of July parade in Hockessin recently, surprising the press and everyone because I was there. And there were thousands of people there, many of the same people who waited 5 hours in line to pay respects at my son's viewing. And I was there to thank them for the overwhelming support they gave me for all those years. And as I continued along the parade route, 2 guys came running up to me, big guys, both are guys I had played ball with, bigger than me. Secret Service was about to have a heart attack. And they said, "Joe, what in the hell's all this stuff about Scranton? You're from Claymont, God darn it. You're from Claymont. And you're from Delaware still, aren't you, Joe? So y'all have to write a note, tell them I love Scranton, it's my home. But you know what? Home is where your character is stamped, where it's stamped into your soul, where your values are set, where your view of the world and your place in that world begin. For me, that was 2446 North Washington Avenue, around my grandfather Finnegan's table, as where I learned that money doesn't determine your net worth. That no one, I mean this sincerely, This is not hyperbole. This is deadly earnest. I learned that no one is more worthy than you, and everyone is your equal. I learned from my mother, Catherine Eugenia Finnegan Biden, that, and she said this so many times, she'd look you in the eye and say, Joey, look at me. Remember, you're defined by your courage, and you're redeemed by your loyalty. She'd go on to say, because everybody's had tough times, she said, as long as you're alive, you have an obligation to strive, and you're not dead until you've seen the face of God. What I learned here from my father is that I could be anything I wanted to be, that anything could be accomplished. This is not a joke. This is real. That the measure of your character is not whether you get knocked down, you fall, because you will. The measure is how quickly you get up. I learned about resilience from my father, who, like many of you and many of your parents, made what I call the longest walk. The longest walk any man or woman can make is up a short flight of stairs to their child's bedroom to say, honey, I'm sorry. We can't live here anymore. We lost the house. Or daddy or mommy doesn't have a job. I remember my dad making that walk, moving us to my grandfather's home. I remember, what I remember most was him saying, but I promise you, everything is going to, you can't go back to St. Paul's. You can't play in Greenwich Little League anymore. But I promise you, everything is going to be okay. And he meant it. He knew it. Because there used to be a basic bargain back then. There used to be a bargain if you work like hell for the outfit you work with, and they did well, you got to participate. That was the bargain. And what Hillary's all about is making sure that every one of you can look your child and your grandchild in the eye and say, honey, I mean this sincerely. Everything's going to be okay. Think how many people you know who don't feel like they can say that right now. My father, when he said it, on the balls of his heels, he meant it because he thought that there's just a clear shot if you worked hard. Everything I learned at my father and grandfather's table was reinforced by my neighbors and my friends all around this town. Pride, independence, resiliency. When I moved away from Scranton, I was going into 4th grade, but I never left. I spent summers, holidays, college weekends, weddings, funerals, first communions, bat mitzvahs. And by the way, for me it was Naog Park, it wasn't the lake. I always remember what I've been taught, what you all believe up here. Everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter who they are. That America, and Hillary gets this better than anybody I know, that America can be defined in one single word: possibilities. That's the thing about America. That's the thing about Scranton. That's the thing about who we are. Anything is possible. That's the America I know. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the America Hillary Clinton knows. You know the people I trust most in public life? I've been doing this a long time. I trust the people where the feeling starts in their gut, moves to their heart, and then is articulated by a great mind. Hillary understands the hopes and aspirations of the people in Claymont and Scranton and every Scranton and Claymont in the United States of America. I've known her for over 30 years. I knew her before she was First Lady, when she became First Lady, when we served together in the Senate, During her years as Secretary of State, once a week we'd have breakfast at my home. I became the Obama whisperer. She'd look at me and say, "What did he mean by that?" He loves her. Everybody knows this has never been an issue with Hillary, unlike it's a gigantic issue with her opponent. But all kidding aside, everybody, by the way, my family's right there. The Finnegan. Oh, I didn't even see you. Don't you? Secret Service, you see that beautiful young girl there? Make sure she gets back when I leave the stage, okay? Because we're not leaving until I get a hug. Anyway, sorry, guys. It's kind of a family thing. But look, think about it. Everybody has known from day one how smart, how bright Hillary is. Everybody knows how tough she is. But what I don't think everybody knows enough about, it may be the difference between the Irish Catholic and the Methodist piece here. We wear everything on our sleeve. I don't think they fully understand how passionate she is about what she does. I want you to listen just for a minute. I don't even want you to clap. I want you, because I want to make sure you understand what I know about her. You know, she understands that college loan to get a bright young girl or boy to school is about a lot more than whether or not they're going to get a chance. It's about the pride and the dignity of the parent who looks at that child. I mean this sincerely. Please don't just listen to this. I remember I went down to my dad's place of work to pick up a car, and he was wandering back and forth in the parking lot. The secretary said, "He's out there." And I walked out, and he said, "Joey, I'm so sorry. I'm so damn sorry." This is before cell phones. I thought maybe something happened. He said, "I went to the bank today, honey. They won't lend me the money to get you to school. I'm so ashamed." Hillary understands that the most damaging thing to a parent is to look at a talented child or a sick child or a child in need and not be able to do anything. She's understood that for years. She's understood for years that millions of people here in Scranton and Claymont and all across America went to bed staring at the ceiling thinking, "My God, what happens if she develops breast cancer or he gets lung cancer? What happens? We lose everything. What do we do then?" A lot of you remember those days. My family remembers those days. She gets it. She understands what it will mean. And I really mean this. It's more than about her. She understands what it means for these beautiful young girls, and I'm being serious now. These three beautiful little girls I'm looking at now. What it will mean to them when it's President Hillary Rodham Clinton. It will change their lives. It will change their lives. It will prove that my daughter and my granddaughters can do anything my sons and grandsons can do. That's what it will mean. It's consequential. So let me say this as clearly as I can. If you live in a neighborhood like I grew up in, where my wife Jill grew up in Willow Grove or down in Claymont, if you worry about your job, getting decent pay, if you worry about your children's education, if you're taking care of an elderly parent after losing the other one, then there's only one person in this election who will possibly help you, and that is Hillary Clinton. Folks, she's always been there. It's not a joke. You know, you use phrases like that. but she has always been there. That's her life story. And let's state the obvious. That is not Donald Trump's life story. Senator Ted Kaufman, who you know very well, Hillary, served with you, used to be my administrative assistant for years and years, graduate of the Wharton School, an engineer by degree at Duke. He said he had a professor at the Wharton School. The Wharton School, by the way, doesn't have a Trump sign up. Anyway, that said, the difference between a success and a genuine success, a minimum success and a real success, is someone who had nothing and makes $1 million is a real success. Someone who inherits $1 million and makes $20 million, no, they're not a bum, but they're a mere success. Now, some are bums, but not all. Look, let me tell you the part that bothers me, and, you know, as Hillary will point out and knows that no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is I sometimes say all that I mean. But let me tell you what really bothers me most. And maybe this only works in where I grew up, I don't know. But you know, what bothers me most about Donald Trump is his cynicism is unbounded. I really mean this. Think of this for a minute, because you're all raised in this area. You're different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds. But there's one thing I've noticed all the years I've spent, and I've always come home. And that is that the way you were raised, if you ever showed a lack of empathy for someone in trouble, if you ever summed up, thought that the phrase he's most proud of, you're fired. Think about the phrase, you're fired. No, all kidding aside, I really mean this. Maybe it's just me. But think about what your mother or father or grandmother or grandfather would have said to you. Think about everything you learned as a child. I really mean this. No matter where you were raised, how can there be pleasure in division and you're fired? And he's trying to tell us he cares about the middle class. Give me a break, and to repeat myself, it's such a bunch of malarkey. It makes no sense. None. This guy doesn't care about the middle class. And I don't even blame him in a sense, because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't have a clue. No, he really doesn't. He doesn't have a clue. And by the way, there's something else he has no clue about. That has nothing to do with being a Democrat or Republican. I have worked with 8 presidents of the United States. I have served with hundreds of senators, only 13 senators in history, I'm embarrassed to say, have served as long as I have. Dozens of secretaries of state and secretaries of defense of both parties. And I can say without hesitation, my word as a Biden, no major party nominee in the history of the United States of America has, no, don't cheer or quiet, just listen, has known less or been less prepared to deal with our national security than Donald Trump. And what absolutely amazes me, that he doesn't seem to want to learn it. No, I really mean it. He doesn't seem to want to learn it. He doesn't seem to think it matters. This man is totally, thoroughly unqualified to be President of the United States of America. He not only lacks the temperament, people say he lacks the temperament. I'd feel better if that's all he lacked. On every issue that matters most to our security, Donald Trump has no clue what it takes to lead this great country. Now look, you know, if I had said this 8, 10 months ago, you'd say, well, you know, I'm being partisan. Well, I am partisan. I make no apologies for that, but I'm not mean about it. And as Hillary will tell you, I don't know any Democrat that has more positive relationship with Republicans than I do in the United States Senate. But having said that, look at the people who've come out. Scores and scores of the most prominent Republican thinkers in the national security field. They've come out in both political parties and parties. He has no idea what he's talking about. Even confronted with the facts, he doesn't want to learn them. Few times he tries to deal with the facts, he reveals a profound misunderstanding what's at stake. Just listen for a second. Listen to him. He belittles our closest allies in this hemisphere and in Europe. Nations that stand with us are part of our security network, that are with us when we address every international challenge. Those who fought and bled alongside us for decades. He wants to toss those relationships aside, like the ones that like his failed business ventures or something. In the meantime, he talks cavalierly about encouraging other nations, as Hillary pointed out, to develop nuclear weapons, as if a nuclear war is some trivial affair. Does he not understand we wrote Japan's constitution to say they could not be a nuclear power? Where was he when in school? Someone who lacks this judgment cannot be trusted. There's a guy that follows me, right back here, has the nuclear codes. So God forbid everything happened to the president and I had to make a decision. The codes are with me all. He is not qualified to know the code. He can't be trusted. I was proud. My son, Bo, served for a year in Iraq, came back a highly decorated soldier. I must tell you, I must tell you, had Donald Trump been president, I would have thrown my body in front of him. No, I really mean it. To keep him from going if the judgment was based on Trump's decision. Every president since Harry Truman has looked toward a Europe whole, free, and at peace. One of the most consequential people right now who's trying to undo that is a man that Donald Trump says he admires. Now, I'm not big on the character assassination stuff. I really mean that. You look at everything, any campaign I've ever run. I'm just trying to, like that old program of all the Brennan, just the facts, ma'am, nothing but the facts. Oh, that was Joe Friday, actually. But he says he admires Vladimir Putin. No. It's more than the ooh about it. Here's the deal. What is Putin's objective, as Hillary knows as well as anyone, dealing with Putin as I have and the president has, and John Kerry? Putin's determined to crack NATO and crack the European alliance. That is his overarching, overwhelming interest. I'm heading from here, getting on a plane and flying to Kosovo, then to Serbia, then I'm going to the Baltic states. You know, one of the reasons I'm going is to make sure to reassure those who are members of NATO in the Baltic states we mean what we say. We mean what we say, this sacred alliance of 60 years. Because they're worried. Listen to his comments about Ukraine. He assures us Russia will not move on Ukraine. Without understanding, they've already moved on Ukraine and occupy Crimea. This guy's shame has no limits. He's even gone so far as to ask Putin and Russia to conduct cyber attacks against the United States of America. No. Even if he is joking, which he's not. Even if he's joking, what an outrageous thing to say. Look, folks, these are not isolated examples. He's even showered praise on Saddam Hussein, one of the vilest dictators of the 20th century, a man who repeatedly backed terror attacks against Israel because he was supposedly, the reason he admires him, he was a killer of terrorists. That's why he likes Saddam. He would have loved Stalin. He would have loved Stalin. Look, this says a lot about his approach. It explains why he so often embraced tactics of terrorist enemies themselves, religious intolerance, casting entire communities as culpable for the acts of a few in the community, torture when he knows it's illegal and says he would still order it even though the military commanders said they would not obey his orders. When can you think of ever in history where military commanders have said before a man or woman is elected that they would not follow his orders? Threatening to kill innocent family members of suspects, indiscriminate bombing, what he calls for. That's how anyone hoping to lead this great democracy in the world should behave? Look, he likes autocrats. He wills the politics of fear and intolerance, calling for a ban on Muslims in the United States, slandering proud Muslim parents of a Gold Star family who paid the ultimate sacrifice, threatening to send American citizens to Guantanamo. Oh, I tell you, this guy's okay. Look, Trump's ideas are not only profoundly wrong, they're very dangerous and they're very un-American. They reveal a profound ignorance of our Constitution. It's a recipe for playing into the hands, and I will end this because you've been standing so long. It's a recipe for playing in the hands of terrorists and their propaganda. Last year, ISIL's top leader, who we've been tracking since we got bin Laden, Hillary, me, John, everyone else, the president, his name is al-Baghdadi, and he revealed the goal of ISIL. He just said it straight out. You go on the website. He said their goal is to, quote, compel the Crusaders to actively destroy the gray zones themselves, meaning anywhere where Christians and Muslims live, he calls a gray zone. He said the objective is to actively destroy that gray zone. Muslims in the West, he says, will have to quickly find themselves between two choices: either apostatize or emigrate to the Islamic State and thereby escape prosecution. How does he make the case? By pointing out that no Muslim is welcome in the West. ISIL wants to manufacture a clash of civilizations between us versus them. Trump is trying to give them exactly what they want. Last week, he stood in front of a crowd in Florida and said President Obama founded a terrorist organization, ISIL. Now look, this I really should end with. That's an outrageous statement. But let me tell you why it's a dangerous statement. Why, as he might say, the bad guys are listening. Yesterday, the head of Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, Iran's top terrorist surrogate and a direct threat to our ally Israel, repeated Trump's claim in the entire Muslim world and around the world that President Obama founded ISIL. You say, well, what difference does that make? Here's exactly what the leader of Hezbollah said, referring to Trump's accusation. He said this: this is the spokesman for ISIL. For Hezbollah. This is not a simple speech, referring to Trump. This, I'm quoting him, this is an American presidential candidate. This was spoken on behalf of the American Republican Party. And he, meaning Trump, has the data and documents to back it up. If my son were still in Iraq, and I say to all those who are there, the threat to their life has gone up a couple clicks. It's gone up a couple clicks. You saw what's happening in Turkey, where some in Turkey are accusing us of being part of the coup attempt. Ladies and gentlemen, does he have any idea the adverse consequences these outlandish comments have on our allies, our friends, and the physical safety of our troops? Trump is already making our country less safe, and I'm testing your stamina. So let me go to the end here and say, Hillary has forgotten more about American foreign policy than Trump and his entire, not exaggerating, his entire team will ever understand. Ladies and gentlemen, Hillary's been there. She has been tested. I've been in the room with her as we jointly have, with the president's leadership, sent some of these killers to the gates of hell. At our weekly breakfast on the international stage, she's strong, she's respected, she's admired. There's nothing that she doesn't understand about America's place in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, because she knows one thing that Donald Trump doesn't know, it's never, ever been a good bet to bet against the United States of America. Give it a fair shot. Give it a fair chance. Americans have never, ever let their country down. Never. And ladies and gentlemen, in Scranton and in America, we never bow, we never bend, we never kneel, we never yield. We own the finish line. That's who we are. We are America. And she gets it. We're second to none. And Hillary Clinton is going to write the next chapter in American victory.